Welcome back, Headbangers. Today, I'm spinning the wax with Adam Campbell-Train and Benio Baumgart of British post-metal band Dimscua, and we're listening to Caspian's 2015 album, Dust and Disquiet. Don't go anywhere, it all starts right now! Welcome back to Spinning the Wax, Headbangers, where we listen to your favorite artists' favorite records. My name is John Garcia, aka Stay Puffed, the Metal Marshmallow, and your friendly neighborhood headbanger. On today's episode, I'm pleased to welcome Adam Campbell and Benio Baumgart of the British band Dimscua, or we don't even know how to pronounce it over here. It'll be an adventure all the way. Benio, Adam, welcome to Spinning the Wax. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you so much for having us, mate. We are very well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, fueled up by tea and coffee, if you couldn't already tell, and ready to get into some very cool, mostly instrumental post-rock a little bit later today. This is our first time talking, and in fact, you still, I would imagine, would consider yourselves a budding band, given the fact that I know you have played together, Adam, with a lot of your bandmates for a long time, and the emergence of Dimscua was kind of unexpected, to say the least. So how are you dealing with the fact that you wrote this album, this heavy in more ways than one album over a very long period of time, and now all of a sudden there's expectations, people are paying attention to it, you've played shows, and there's new music in the works. Like, can you sum up the last year or so for us? And then Benny, I'll move to you after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even been a year yet, right? Like it's been six
Yeah.
months as the time when we're recording this. So, I think the way to describe it, like we weren't a real band. Like this was purely some friends. We've been friends since, we were kids, hanging out every so often, writing music. We would write half a song and then not see each other for 6 months because we're adults in our 30s and life gets in the way, and
Right.
then come back and write another half of a song. So it took us a long time to get the record, not necessarily because we were sitting and agonizing over it, but just because we had other things in our lives. And
Yeah.
then we put it out with truly zero promotion. There was no ad budget behind it, there was no plan. We literally put it out into the void for ourselves, and then it found its way to a lovely guy called Gary Davison, who writes for Echoes and Dust. He sent it to a friend of his, Andy Cadigan, and then it ended up going to Gavin McAnally, who is one of the co-hosts of Two Promoters, One Pod. So
Yeah.
you've got American viewers, you might not be familiar, but two of the biggest festivals in the UK for this style of music, post-metal and that kind of thing, are Damnation Festival and Arctangent Festival. Two guys who book all the bands for that have a podcast together. You could not ask for two more important people to hear this record,
Yeah. Seriously.
It would have been my wildest dream to play. I didn't think we'd ever get a chance to play Damnation because there's just not that many slots. I thought in my heart of hearts, maybe we would get to play the shittest slot, like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday at Arctangent on
Yeah.
the smallest stage. And that would have been like, okay, we can do that in 2027. And then I'll hang up my guitar. I'm done. It's all good. So yeah, to go from the shout out that we got from Gav and the glowing review that we got from Gav to then that evening we were being offered to play the second stage at Arctangent because a band had dropped out, which is a 3,000 capacity tent, which would be our first show. I haven't played in a band live for about 8 years at this point. Alex, our singer, has never fronted a band. He's never, sang live before. this is really like, I mean, it's 0 to 100 instantly. I've never been in a band that's made t-shirts before, like getting merch done. It's like, who do you
Wow.
speak to? Like,
Fuck
what
yeah.
do you do about these things? So yeah, we had to, in a period of about 6 weeks, go from this is us fucking around on a Friday night in my spare room having a few beers to we're ready to perform at on one of the biggest stages that you've got for post metal in the UK. So yeah, and from there it's continued. I mean, again, I would have been happy if that was the kind of one off and it was like, right,
Yeah,
we're done.
sure.
We had this weird 5 minutes, but holy shit, that was cool. But then yeah, from there we had again super subs coming off the bench because another band dropped out of Damnation Festival. So we played Damnation Festival with even less room to spare. We had about a 2 week 2 week gap on that one
God
to
damn.
get ourselves ready. And yeah, we're in the process at the moment of trying to write a follow up and yeah, do all those things that we didn't think we would have the ability to do.
Yeah, which I want to ask about that in a little bit. But I mean, that's I just love everything about that because just the fact that some people get to an age and they're like, and I think I was talking about this on the last episode that I recorded too. You get to an age and you're just like, it's nothing's ever gonna happen. I'm just doing some shit, Like you said, you're getting together every few months to have a couple beers and do a thing. Like I'm in my mid 30s. I know how hard it is to get like 5 people together in a room to play
So,
D&D or something like that, right? So like to do that, and then all of a sudden you can see this. I didn't call it an explosion, right? Because I think that might, like overnight, whatever, but more like a combustion, I guess, more of like a little tiny thing where it didn't like rock the entire world, but for your corner of the world, and obviously for people who love this kind of, heavy music and post metal and everything like that, very much just kind of boom, here you go, here's a band to pay attention to. And that's fucking great. And I love the fact over the last few years, basically since people got confined in their quarters during the COVID lockdown, trying to like make sense of their mind, making music that they want to make, and then finding a way, like the audience finding a way to do that. Because you guys aren't the only ones over the last few bits that of artists that I've talked to that have said zero expectations, put this out to zero nobody, and then someone found it and it got to the right ears of people, and then here we are right now. And that's, I mean, that's you fucking love to see it, everybody. So like, I'm so happy that that's happened. Benio, tell me about kind of your experience watching this and then coming into the fold for the band and everything like that. What's been your experience with this?
Yeah, well, yeah, fucking nuts, to put it bluntly. Um,
Yeah.
I suppose to hark back to what you were said, kind of around COVID, like I'd pretty much, I'd hung up the idea of playing in a band, really. We've all known each other from kind of like the age. I think I first met Adam and Sam when I was maybe 15,
Mm.
playing, shitty local shows, right? Like, so we've all known each other for ages. But yeah, I pretty much hung up the idea of being in a band. We'd all played with each other at points in time. Adam filled in on bass for mine, Sam, and Lewis's old band, and so it's been a thing for us throughout our entire kind of teen to adult life.
Hmm.
And then I get a text from I think it was you or Sam, Adam, and then they go, "Shit, we've been offered Arctangent." And I go, "Oh, congrats, guys! That's amazing." And they go, "Oh, we need a bassist." So there was me thinking that I'd hung up my guitar. I'm going out and I'm literally buying a bass and and joining these guys. But it's been an honor so far, and I can't wait to kind of see what we do and what we do
Yeah.
together as at the core of it, we are very good friends.
Hmm.
So that comes first and foremost between all of this. So it's an interesting development in all of our relationships, right?
Certainly, and I also imagine, the, no pressure, no expectations, or just like not even having I mean, I assume this is the case. You can tell me otherwise, Adam, if it's not. But I don't know how often the songs would be on your mind when you're out in the middle of your day and about the life going about in between those 6 months or whatever when you're not doing that. So obviously, I think that there might be something to be said about just being able to cast off everything like a cloak for a little bit and only focus on the music that you're doing in that small window of time. But also, I think it's going to be really interesting to your point, Benio, about how you all have known each other for a really long time, played in various genres of music and like all of these different tendencies, but yet have come together to form this one thing. And now you get to explore and figure out, where it goes and how it sounds and everything like that. Are you shitting your pants yet, or is you just kind of like, you just like, what, I want to get into the actual like songwriting and stuff like that later, but like, what does it feel like now to have, even if, not expectations, people like, oh, what are you gonna do next? Give me the good shit, but just, now you know that there are at least some eyeballs on you as opposed to last time you were just literally complete anonymity doing whatever it was that the fuck you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different experience. I don't know about shitting my pants. Like, I shat my pants, pretty
You've already
heavily.
done that. All the shit
I
is
was
out of
gonna
your
say,
pantaloons.
right? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing left. Very clean colon over here. But yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely been a different approach because, again, like, yeah, to your point, like, this wasn't a priority. So therefore, it comes when it comes, do whatever. If it takes 4 years, who gives a shit? Whereas this time around, we're quite conscious. I mean, we're going back to play Arctangent again
Yeah.
in August. We want that show to be new and exciting for people who want to come and see us again, right? So
Hmm.
there's an element of let's prioritize it, but at the same time, again, I think to iterate, it's not like we were agonizing over those songs for 4 years, and that's why it took so long.
Right,
It's just
right.
that we weren't prioritizing doing it. So this time around, we are a real band. We make time for it in our lives. We carve out time to do this stuff. So I think yeah, it's a very different experience. But creativity, it's a case of let's overwrite, let's write too many things. We'll write 20 ideas and maybe five of them will make the record and they'll be good. Last time around we wrote 4.5 songs and 4 songs made the record. We probably won't do that kind of hit rate again.
Hey, you never know. But what I like about coming in at this point and discovering you guys when I did, and then also just kind of knowing the music that you play and like and influence yourself off of and everything like that, is that artistic need to just do what it is in like the moment or whatever, right? So I'm sure whatever comes next isn't going to be Dusteater, and whatever comes after that isn't going to be what comes next or anything like that. But as you mentioned, since it isn't this like agonizing over a bunch of songs for 4 years or whatever, it's interesting to me that there's like going through this album in retrospect, there's probably like little specks of those moments from all across those 4 years condensed into that like little period or whatever that you have. And now as you go through, I don't know, you'll try and squeeze out what's in this time frame, and it's going to be different, but who knows what it's going to be. I don't know. I think that that's going to be the cool thing, especially knowing that sometimes bands take many records to really find who they are and what they're doing. And who knows where this band could go and what music you could be releasing in the next little while.
Yeah, I think so. And I think again, this might be the first release under this name, but this is not the first release that we've put together, even us as individuals, right? Like to Benio's,
Yeah.
like we met him through being in bands. We have all been in various different bands of various different genres, as well as cranking out stuff ourselves. So yeah, it's crystallized into Dimscua, and Dimscua is by far the most successful project that certainly that I've been involved with in.
Sure.
But again, it's not like we're not a bunch of strangers who met each other and just decided to form a band, and this is the first thing we put out. This is, you know, however many releases down the
Yeah.
track of working together, and we found something that, yeah, that people respond to and that fulfills us artistically, and that ultimately is an incredible privilege, and that's the kind of thing that that I don't know, certainly for me, that I want to continue doing is stuff that fulfills us and things that hopefully an audience is going to respond to.
Yeah, Benny, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I was about to say, yeah, 100% agree. There's it's funny because there was like a comment on a YouTube video of us playing Arctangent, and some guy was like, "Oh, how long have these guys been doing it?" Or, where have these guys come from, or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, no, we just picked up the guitars yesterday. Like we've just started playing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we are in our 30s. Like we know how to play our instruments and we know how to put together a live show.
Yeah.
So yeah, just I found that incredibly funny.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
for, on the outside looking in, it's certainly, the majority of people, like, we had to think, like, holy shit, these guys, they were hatched yesterday and all of a sudden, boom, like, this came over here. But you'll see how many bands will, like, scratch and claw for a decade just to get, like, some modicum of recognition or something like that. And then, not saying that y'all haven't done that, because as you just mentioned, you have been playing in the background and forming, and this spirit of Dimscua, kind of coalescing in different forms and beings and possessions and whatever, until it finally, like you said, out of like coalesced and crystallized to this, like, this is the actual, like, what do you call it, tangential form of all of your work that you've been doing over the last little bit. And of course, a layperson on YouTube might think, like, boom, overnight success, which doesn't ever happen in metal. But I do think it is very, very cool to see, just this thing of many different things and many different years kind of coalesce into what we're seeing right now. So it's just fucking cool to see. And to segue this into what we're going to be listening to today, I think that there is a lot of crossover in the band that we're going to be listening to, as far as just like musical ethos, some of the shall we say, like, themes and motifs and things like that in the music, and how it develops into this kind of like bigger than the sum of its parts type of deal. So we're gonna be listening to Caspian's fuck, I just had it over here, Dust and Disquiet. I was almost gonna say Dusteater, but that is your record. So Dust and Disquiet by Caspian. Adam, Benio, I don't know which one of y'all wants to go first, but why did you guys decide to bring on this record to listen to today?
I'll let you take it, Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Lewis describes it as like a family favorite for Lewis, our drummer, sorry, describes it as
Okay.
a family favorite for the record, for the band, sorry. So this is a band that all of us have been listening to for an awful long time. For me, I thought there was a couple of nice thematic callbacks, because I first saw this band 10 years ago at Arctangent, and they absolutely
Cool.
blew my mind. So it was quite a nice kind of callback to, yeah, some of the things that over the years have been a big inspiration for me, not only on the music side of things, the production side of things, but also the way they, to Benio's point, put on a live show. Like, for my money, these are one of the best. These guys are one of the best bands in the world. Not only at the music they produce, but the live shows that they put on. I've seen them
Mm.
quite a lot of times over the years, and every time they are absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, that was something that we wanted to talk about. And yeah, I think I think post rock and post metal, there's sometimes a difference in the aesthetic execution, but
Hmm.
the overall goal, I guess, and a lot of the philosophies of the way that that's applied to music can be very similar. This album obviously deals with loss and grief in a very different way than Dusteater, our record does, but it
Yeah.
comes from a very, very similar place,
Yeah.
and it evokes a lot of those very, very similar feelings. And yeah, I think that's we're all pretty influenced by post rock as a genre, whether you hear it or whether you don't hear it in the music, but certainly the way that it's able to create an emotional impact, I think, is one of the things that is a constant well of inspiration for us. And for me, although Benio prefers one of the other records. But like for me, this is
Oh no,
the absolute best post-rock
the
album of
fight. No,
all
I
time.
love it. I love bands like this where people have different opinions over like their best or like their favorite or anything like that. Adam, you said many things that I'll jump off of and that I was thinking about. But Benio, please go in and follow this one up with the with what you want to say.
I mean, I largely echo what Adam said. Caspian are, hand on heart, probably one of the best live bands I've ever seen. I
Mm,
saw them for the first time with Sam and Lewis, so it's a nice kind of full circle moment to be speaking about them. They write records; they don't just write songs.
right.
Like they really think about what they're doing, and you can tell, and it comes across in their art. And it's, as a new addition to Dimscua, it's where I would like to kind of be quite headstrong in my influence in the writing, where, we are writing a record. We aren't just writing one song, we aren't writing a single, we're writing a body of work that is meant to work together. And I think
Mhm.
that that's what Caspian really, really does well.
Very much so. And one of my questions going into this record, when I was kind of reading about it and the backstory behind it, which for those who aren't familiar, is they lost a member of their band that had been with them for a really long time. This is kind of a way to get their feelings out, I think. Which we'll talk about it because you can tell in some spots that it just feels like people putting their anguish out without even being in like a overly heavy or like we'll get into it. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but one of the questions I had about this record before going in was like, how do you write a concept album or an album with a theme or a record like this with only instruments or with mostly instruments, because obviously they do get used vocals, so there are lyrics and stuff like that in this record and some of their other stuff particularly, but then getting through it and realizing, oh, that's how you do that, and there it actually does do that. So for people who aren't familiar with Caspian, we'll start Benio again with you. Like, what should they expect with not just this record or not just this band, but this record if they're going in with not too much knowledge of the band?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's like listening to something incredibly beautiful at the same time as listening to something so heavy, right, in its theme. And again, something that Caspian do really well is they bring you through that just through the music,
Hmm.
and they also give you room to breathe throughout it. It's not just an onslaught.
Right.
It is you have these moments, then you have a moment where you can reflect throughout the music, and then you go again.
Adam, what do you think? How would you describe Caspian to people who aren't super familiar?
I think this is a great post-rock album if you are not a huge post-rock fan, because it
Mm.
has a shit ton of riffs. Like most post-rock, it's really easy to get bogged down in some of the stuff that's just the twinkly guitars and the eighth note delay pedals, and we're just gonna do a couple of little clean parts. I do like that stuff. I have a real
Of
soft
course.
spot for This Will Destroy You, and yeah, some of my favorite bits off Explosions in the Sky. But
Yeah.
this record will absolutely shatter your expectations of what post rock can be.
Hmm.
And yes, to your point, John, the way they tell a story and build a theme throughout the music with very, very limited use of lyrics and a very, very limited use of words is super, super powerful. If you can get through Arcs of Command, Echo and Abyss, and Run Dry without
Dude.
feeling completely worn out, like you've been on a roller coaster,
Yeah.
then there's something wrong with you. There's
There's a reason they also need that 3 song like you were talking about, Benio, just like break or
Yeah.
whatever after that. That's the sequencing of this is incredible. But yeah, it did take me a couple listens, guys, to really kind of appreciate it for what it was. I put it on at night and just like listened to it, knowing kind of like what the instrumental parts, and knowing like, with post rock I kind of like to zone out, be in a dark room, put my headphones on, yada yada, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, like, my ADHD is going all over the place. I don't know if I can really but then going back to it and you know not even just like listening to the lyrics or whatever, but I put it on a couple of times, doing a couple of different things. And I think that this is just post rock in general, I think is something you kind of have to listen to a couple of times to really start to really grasp what's just going on, right? Like Dusteater, I think, is a perfect example of that, where you can get a lot of stuff on first listen, but maybe some things you're not going to realize or miss, or are too distracted with one thing that's going on that you didn't even realize that there's something underneath that. So I really encourage people, even if they listen to this, like, yeah, I don't know, I kind of like that, but I'm give it another listen in a different, like, speakers, headphones, whatever, because this type of stuff, when it really hits, like kind of like that magic eye picture, when you can see the picture inside of it, it's just like there's few things better than that, when you can really get down to that musical experience that's like a movie for your mind almost. My friends, this is Dust and Disquiet, the 2015 album by Caspian, in 3, 2, 1, play. What has been was this your introduction to post rock, or was there other bands? Like, kind of, what was your journey with discovering this band? And I guess, Adam, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I did. I think I must have either Sam, our other guitarist, or Lewis must have put me onto them, because I didn't go to see them with Sam, Lewis, and Benio when you went to see them at the Dome, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think after, I don't know, maybe I'd heard them talking about how good the show was. So it
Mm,
was when they were touring this album, and I remember the first song I heard was Darkfield, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit more when we get there. It must have been
yeah.
their most popular song or whatever it was at the time, and it just absolutely blew my mind. Like, again, the build up, I think, is exquisite. The way that it gets to that bass riff is just like, you cannot listen to that song without wanting to bang your head, without wanting to move your body. Like, it speaks to you on that primal level.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there, just expanded out, listened to the rest of the record, and yeah, this album was my introduction to Caspian, and I just, again, it's stuck with me as it's one of my absolute favorite records, of all time.
Yeah, as not being someone too familiar who's gone now since, and poked in a couple of their other records, and some of their, they've got an Audio Tree performance that sounds just fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that this is a very, very good record to come in on, whether by accident or by chance or whatever it was. So I appreciate that for choosing this. Benio, what about you? And what is the other record that you prefer over Dust and Disquiet after the? There's no wrong answer, right? There's no wrong answer, but yeah.
There is. Yeah.
There is, yeah, apparently there is a wrong answer. So
Yeah.
I got introduced to Caspian. I don't know, I couldn't tell you the time or place, but I listened to Waking Season,
Mm.
which was a couple of records before this. And yeah, I mean, like every time you listen to Caspian, it blew my mind. To the point where it was one of the only records that I listened to back to. I just kept listening to it from the beginning to the end, and I just kept going.
Mm.
And I did that for about, I shit you not, probably about 2 weeks. And
Wow.
that Waking Season was my introduction to post rock. And then I started going down the rabbit hole. So I went down, to This Will Destroy You, Maybe She Will, We Lost the Sea, who we're on tour with in May. And yeah, we just, or I just, I just found a new world through Caspian.
I love that. I found a new world. Yeah, because that's what they do. Like, again, in my limited post rock knowledge. It's basically what they do, these tiny little universes, whether in a song or in an album, that they transport you to. And yeah, I love putting on these albums with some sort of like YouTube visualizer in the background to kind of just like take you away to, you know, whatever realm you want to be in. And this, you talked about the build up in this one. I love how they start adding little bits of music almost without you really even realizing. Like that drum comes in and you notice that, but now we've got just these swells and these really tiny high guitar chords in the right channel and stuff like that. And it's just like these little layers that are almost like so thin, like of tissue paper, before you realize that there's an actual like, you know, heft there.
Yeah, you know, and the way they integrate, like, I mean, the saxophone and in the previous track, and the cello and strings in this song is done so delicately. Like, this is a classic post-rock song. Like, this album goes, you know, I guess new and you know, slightly more uncharted territory for the band, and for post-rock as a genre, where it brings in some of those other elements on the next track. But again, the way this record is sequence, I think, is brilliant, because it starts with, to me, just an exemplary version of a nice, mellow post-rock song that kind of has this underpinning melancholy, introduces a load of the themes of the record without. This isn't going to turn off their established audience, right? Like, the first time they hear this, they're not going to go, "What happened to Caspian?"
Yeah, and I, again, every time I listen to this, like, don't even realize that one song goes into the next. You know, it's like you forget about it. You know, I think this could be again an album that you could think of as like almost like one long song in a bit, right? Just like a film, right? Or you're gonna go through. But this spot right here, this riff right here and this music. You talked about the sad and the melancholy. Like, this feels like someone just cradling you almost, right? With this like not quite lullaby, not like almost holding you, because again, knowing the grief that comes from this record and this dun 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 dun, that sad more. It's just like, oh my god, this is like the first part where like again something clicked in my brain and I was just like, I could feel someone cradling like a child or a grown man swaddled, you know, not even a child.
Yeah, like, I think
suppose
there's. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on, Adam, go on.
I was gonna say, like, I think there's songs on this record that sound like kicking back against, you know, shit, horrible
Yeah.
shit happened, right? Like, and they sound like that kind of like anger response. Like, this track to me feels, you know, it's that mournful, reflective. You know, you've almost reached that kind of, no, like that point of maybe it's acceptance, maybe you're just a little bit numb. Like, say you just want to be comforted and coddled, but in a way that, I don't know, there's something kind of slightly hopeful in the way that the melodies are just so beautifully put together.
Yeah, it's not completely morose, you know, it's not like super depressed or down, but just it is fucking sad.
I suppose that's what you need when you are expressing grief in some kind of way. You do need your moment to be able to just be enveloped. And again, a thing that this record does really well is it gives you that room to breathe.
The guitars, everything sounds huge. I think, yeah, this is where vocals for me would just take away from this track to a certain extent, right?
Yes.
Like, it's something about being developed in the music that this does so brilliantly. There's just that little ring line going through it. Very simple, but it's very evocative.
It feels like it's almost holding back to a certain degree, you know what I mean? As far as like, you know, not wanting to give you that massive wall of sound to like blow you off, blow your headphones off or something like that, which they could very easily be able to do. And of course, with the next song, they kind of get into that a little bit too. But yeah, this definitely seems like, again, thinking about grief and loss and stuff like that, where you just, you want to run outside of your body. You're just like almost, the inside of your spirit is, throwing itself against that brick wall and wanting to get out, but you're just sitting there numb. That's what I get for this track. This is where this album like really, really takes off. Like if they're easing you up beforehand, this is like, all right, you're in the cockpit. We're going into warp speed now. Like let's go.
Yeah, I mean, as Adam rightly said, like the three tracks that follow on from each other here are just, it's a phenomenal bit of music that, again, it was written, it was very clearly written to be together.
Mm-hmm.
But it just gives you no respite, this song.
No. Adam, you were kind of mentioning about how this album was, in putting things in that Caspian hadn't really done before, but wasn't going to be like, oh no, it's going to turn off their audience or anything like that. Would you say that this song is kind of like a microcosm of that, or did they sound, this kind of sci-fi and spacey and other records that they did before?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the old stuff's a bit more of the kind of traditional post rock. It's always had like heavy elements and like
Yeah.
the heavier bits of Rita Secco, but like the energy that comes straight into this track is, yeah, for me, it like stands alone in their catalog. I mean, it still gets played live an awful lot.
And just one thing to add to this is the production quality on it is
Oh,
just phenomenal. The way that every instrument, the way that every instrument actually has space.
yeah.
Right.
And that's what Adam was mentioning in the last track too. Benny, you had kind of this when you walked away to go get your headphones. We were talking about how, despite all of these huge sounding instruments and stuff like that, the last track almost sounded restrained a little bit, like they weren't
Yeah.
going full on assault with the audio and everything like that. And obviously, I think a good production is a must when you're talking about post rock, right? Because just everything has to sound like good and pristine. Maybe not exactly like over polished, although I know that there are some post rock bands that can be guilty of that sometimes here or there. Sometimes for artistic choices, sometimes for not. But yeah, I think that you have to trust in whoever's going to be doing your mixing, your mastering, and your production. As much as the guy who's recording and yourself for putting the tracks out there, because I just people in these kinds of bands just blow my fucking mind when again talking about that like audio tree recording where it sounds like pristine, there's no mistakes, it sounds like it's an actual record that you're buying off the shelves that's been pressed. You guys have talked about Caspian's live sound and how you think that they're one of the best bands. Like, can you try and put into words a little bit like what they do? Oh, hello kitty. What they do that really other than just sounding fucking amazing, what do they do that really sets them above other bands in your opinion? And Adam, we can start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, absolutely sound. They are so locked in. I mean, this is a band that's been going for 20 years, right? And they are, again, another band where some of the members have known each other since school, and you can tell that chemistry coming together. I think ultimately a great live show starts with great songs. So being a band that has genuinely phenomenal songs, every single sample, every single that I've seen live is translated brilliantly. They also have a sense to, push some of those kind of extra specific things that make it feel special. I mean, Sycamore, the end of Sycamore is on their live DVD where all the members start playing essentially like the drop line, all playing different rhythmic parts. If you haven't seen it, go and look up Sycamore live on YouTube. It's an absolutely phenomenal piece of live performance, better than the record. One of the things again, like there's those little extra touches, the use of the lighting on to make you feel enveloped. A lot of it is very heavily backlit, really heavy use of machines, which again makes you feel you're sitting in front of the audience and feel like you're almost a part of this holistic experience. I think that just ultimately that helps the music translate and helps the music play. That wouldn't work for a pop punk band. That wouldn't work for
Right.
like, even like a death metal band or a slam band. It works for a post-rock band because the music is so monolithic. The music is so encompassing. You want the live performance to reflect that, and they do that brilliantly without needing vocals, without needing frontman to direct the energy of the crowd.
Mm.
They're able to do that just in the way that they present themselves, which is, I think, just an absolute phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, sorry, Adam.
No, sorry.
I think ultimately, like playing live, if you're really going to make it different to just copy and pasting the songs, right? You need to be able to tell a story.
Mm.
And if you can do that with one, playing your incredible songs, two, with the fog, with the light show, but not overdone, right? Like it's all the lighting that every time I've seen Caspian, it's bang on. It's not this is this massive light show, overproduced light show. It's just bang on
Mm-hmm.
for what they want to provoke, the feelings that they want to provoke from you.
Yeah, like I'm never sitting there dissecting the live performance. Like
Mm.
I'm
You're just taking it all
never,
in.
yeah, like I'm
Hmm.
not. Sometimes you watch a band and you are thinking about how they are doing things. I went in band, not really flattering, but yeah, I went to see a band relatively recently, and it's a pretty big band, but I'm sitting there thinking about the amount of stuff that's on the backing track versus being live, or I'm thinking about where they have the stage show set up, and I'm not in the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas for this style of music, well, for any band, we're trying to get the audience stop thinking about their lives, stop thinking about all the other things that's going on, and just be totally in the moment. I think everything in a Caspian life set is designed to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the ultimate goal, right? You just want people lost and absorbed in everything, regardless of, like you said, whether you're a slam band, or whether a fucking thrash band or anything like that. It's funny what you said about paying attention to the backing tracks or the stage show and stuff like that. Years ago, I can't remember if it was like late high school or to college, whatever it was, but I took a film studies class, and the professor was like, "You'll know more about how a bad movie is made than a good movie because your mind will be instinctually like picking things up and this because you're not actually invested in the characters or the story or the cinematography and anything." And Adam, that just kind of sounds exactly like what you're saying. Even if they were putting on a great show for their fans or whatever it was, I don't know, but speaking of that, because I've been there a couple of times too, where it's just you're not focusing on what's going on. You're watching everybody, but you're like, I wonder what food truck I'm going to be getting after this show, or all of this other stuff. Whereas, a band that I always talk about, because they're so good and their life set is so good, is Rotting Christ, where it's just four dudes on a stage, but yet the music that they play kind of transcends those four guys, and it feels so much bigger than just those people that are there. And that's where I get in, like, to the wooey woo, like that's fucking like magic and sorcery and all this stuff, where like four guys on the stage manipulating sound and vibrations to make you feel a certain way, or to make this venue or concert hall or whatever it is just get wrapped up in all of those vibrations. So yeah, I want to see Caspian live now, because that sounds like fucking cool. And I love it when you just you go to a show and you forget about everything. You're in the dark and you've got the lights, and it's just like you and the stage, and then everything else in your peripheral is just the music. I've been having a hard time with getting that in my live experiences lately for a lot of different reasons, but I love it when bands can make me just forget about every fucking thing else that's going on, and it's just like we're just right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do with our live performance.
Yeah.
We very consciously, I mean, we didn't have a bass player when we got that Tangent gig, right? So, you know, there would have been an option to go, oh, well, we've got all the bass tracks recorded. We'll just, stick on a backing track and we'll start trying to learn how to play the click. And then we can have some of the samples and some of the synth stuff that we have on the record. We very, very quickly, it was never really a real conversation. Like, we wanted to have a live show where every single sound you're hearing, someone on the stage making that sound.
Yeah.
We wanted to feel the intensity of the music. We wanted to make sure that it felt organic. It's no click tracks or anything, so it's going to breathe, it's going to push and pull, all that kind of stuff. Caspian approached that in a slightly different way, but yeah, the aesthetics might be different, but the philosophy and objective thing that they're trying to achieve in the audience is very, very similar.
Sure. It's just like the Jamaican bobsled team in Cool Runnings. You don't want to be the Swiss team, right? You got to be your own thing in general, but you can take notes from the Swiss team as far as like how to be good, whatever. First Cool Runnings reference I've gotten on this podcast. Yes. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So I guess talk to me a little bit about that. As this like now this song starts to fucking like really rear its head and fucking grow into this like huge monster over here. You mentioned the inherent, and here's some like vocals in here, but honestly, I've listened to this several times. I have no fucking idea what they're saying. It's like they're just low enough in the mix and mixed quite enough to where it's like you can hear them, but you can't. And this to me, again, getting into the theme of the record, it brings to me those like memories that you recall that are kind of starting to fade a little bit. I don't know if you guys know what they're saying here, if you guys can make it out, but for me, this is just like hearts of memories going around in the grief that are just shadows of themselves a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, usually vocals are right there. They sit right on top of the music, right? Whereas Caspian have just included them as an instrument. So
yeah,
they're right there just in the mix. And it almost doesn't matter if you can hear the lyrics or not, because it is the way that they're performed on the track that ultimately is evoking the emotion again.
I don't think there's
there are no lyrics for this song.
I was gonna say, I don't think there are lyrics like published for this song.
No, I always look in Genius or like a couple of A to Z and a couple other places when I get in because I like to dive into stuff. The next song. No, I'm sorry. We're still on. Oh no, we're on Echo in Abyss. Shit. The next song does have published lyrics and it's the only one on there. But I went through. I was like, let's check out the lyrics. So it's like instrumental. So I think that's again, and that's why it kind of gets me as an artistic choice, not to almost like if you want to figure these out or like turn it up real, you can, but it's inconsequential what they're actually saying because it's more the the mood that they're trying to invoke rather so, what the actual content of the lyrics is, which is why in Run Dry, the simple to the point language in that song, which we'll talk about, is just fucking like, oh my God, like chest explodes when you get to that song. I interrupted myself a little bit. All I was going to say, Adam, is you mentioned the inherent need to move. I guess, when you decided, when you got the call, say, hey, you guys are going to be doing Arctangent. Hey, we need a bass player. Oh, fuck, we haven't played these songs live. What was kind of like, how are we going to, approach this? And I think playing without a click track is fucking great because, again, gets into exactly making sure that everybody is feeling that groove, just like those old jazz dudes, right? Back in the day, it's like when they're going and you can swing with the tunes and everything like that. I guess what was your approach when you decided, like, we want to make our live show, something that people feel and experience and everything like that? Worst part, I'm sorry, the timing of this is awful as like we get into this song. You can wait to answer that question if you want.
It's very different to the energy that you're presenting, John. But yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah,
let me just go get my fucking heroin needle for a second. Damn. Dude, this song, so we're on Run Dry right now. Immediately this gave me like a nutshell Alice in Chains kind of vibe, and that ultimate like acoustic sadness. And then as we get in, I kind of feel like there's a mix between in these lyrics like a sad dour Tom Petty meets a Townes Van Zandt almost, where it's like folksy but not Americana, but it just like you can feel that that troubadour-esque ethos in the guitar. This song is, dude, it's out of this world.
This song is just an incredible piece of music. Like it's such a feat to make this feel like it fits organically in the
Yeah.
rest of this record, let alone following two of the heaviest songs that Caspian have ever done with this, and to make it not feel jarring or not feel like a gimmick. And actually, this is probably, thematically, right? This is the heart of the record. This is
Yeah.
probably the most important song on this album. And it's just a guitar and vocals. We've gone from mountains of synths and, uneven time signatures and all that kind of stuff to just simple guitar and a really brutally honest set of lyrics.
Yeah. From the time that we were young, we were wild-eyed dreamers. Now we cautiously raise our eyes. The season has turned from one to the next. One of two verses, and you get everything that you need to know in that line, and which makes like this one, right here, the repeating lyric. Oh my god, dude, it's just like a knife right in the heart.
I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, it's doing what post rock does, just with the layers and repetition, just with the vocals. It's just very pared back.
Yeah. And to your point too, guys, like without layering in separation number 2, having that minute long fade in before you almost even hear anything, and the quietness and the calmness, even with some of the dreamy guitar like chord arpeggios that they were doing, right? That kind of sets the tone for being able to pull this off, where they set the seeds earlier, but even still, like I'm with you, Adam. It's so crazy that this in the middle of the record, track 5 of 10 is this dour acoustic song away from sweeping effects and everything like this, but yet this, in my opinion, this makes the record. Like if this wasn't here, very few things before or after would make sense. It like ties everything together.
In a way, it's almost like they built the track around this, or built the record around this track.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, like we know we got to get here and we know we've got to come down from here,
Yeah.
but how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, to your point, John, like, and the thing that Benio was saying earlier about this being an album, like an incredibly coherent album, like, yeah, none of this album makes sense without the song. But also, to your point, none of these, like, this song wouldn't make sense if you didn't set it up properly.
Right.
You know, if this just came after Rias Echo, it would be still a great song, but it wouldn't be that moment of, final heartbreaking and contemplation that it is for having come after Echo and Abyss and Arcs of Command, right?
Yeah. And what's interesting too is this also could, I feel like, be a closer, right? Maybe not exactly like a closer, but maybe it's like the penultimate song before you get the last little mood change and then the record does, ends. But they put this right in the middle of this record. And you've got another 5 songs to go after this to get through. But again, I feel like that's so grief is sometimes you're just like stuck in the middle of this island with you got all of this place to go before you know that you're out of it, and that's going back to the beginning of how do you fucking write a record, a concept record with only instruments. Well, you put a little bit of lyrics in just to move the story a little bit, but you just think a fuck ton about the journey of what you're going through and then how you can replicate that journey in your music, just like the classical composers did many centuries ago, and that people still do even in like fucking like pop songs and stuff like that, the 3-minute journey of like heartbreak or whatever. But this is just when people like us, as far as people that are heavy, more extreme music or music that you have to think a little bit or meet halfway, this is where I think it really you get rewarded to a certain extent as far as when you find this thing and have that experience in that. It's there's few things that I think are better than finding a record or a band that you can really immerse yourself in and having that big swell of emotion that they intend for you to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, I mean, you could sum the whole record up, right? Like, I mean, the line that obviously sticks with me is, tears won't help but to water the ground. So
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I highlighted that one as well. Holy shit.
it's just, yeah. And that realization when you're in that place of grief it's an easy bit of knowledge, but it's something that's very, very difficult to feel in your bones and to feel, right, I'm going to do something else about this, or
Yeah.
I'm going to, it's time to, I have run dry of tears, right? So I'm going to, yeah, carry on or find another way to carry on. And I think bridging it into the track that we're now listening to, Sad Heart of Mine, which is probably the most beautiful and hopeful track on the record. Again, it's just another masterstroke in terms of the sequencing of this thing.
I agree with you 100%. And once again, Equal Night went and passed us by without even fucking realizing it. I know it's only a 2-minute song that kind of like bridges that thing, but you need that. And this is, I assume that this would probably be where you flip the record over and it starts in. I don't know
I can confirm
sure.
that for you.
Okay. Oh, yes, please. I assume that this would be a 3 track record. I don't know, because it's a little bit, it's like about an hour or so. So I don't know if that would fit on a
So
one
Sad
for
Heart of
vinyl.
Mine is right at the end of side B.
Right at the end of side B. Interesting. Okay. I was thinking that, but I guess that makes sense with Equal Night fading into that.
So
But
I believe it's a 2 vinyl record,
okay, yeah, that's what I
double
thought.
LP. Yeah, and then yeah, Sad Heart of Mine finishes off one of the LPs.
Interesting. Because to your point, Adam, this song, it feels a breath of fresh air after the last one. You said like more hopeful, more upbeat and positive. It's almost like a rebirth in a bit. It's like we had to get through that little bit, and now come out the other side. You're still not recovered, but there is that dourness, that despondency, and that I don't think I can go forward anymore. It's kind of in the past a little bit, and now you're starting to break out of that. And this is where I think the record kind of has a second wind a little bit.
For sure. It's like a breath of fresh air, this,
Yeah.
after the first basically 3/4 of the record.
And it's funny, when I was listening to this record the first time initially, I thought that this song and Darkfield, I was like, I don't know about that sequencing, because it seems like we're in this kind of like liminal space for maybe a little bit longer than I feel. But as I listened to it again, as I got through, especially at the end of this song, I was like, you know what? Those reservations that I had previously, I think by the time that you get to the end of this song, I think are gone. It's just I had got to be a little bit more patient when listening to everything, which again, why I said it took a couple of listens to go through, because my initial thoughts when listening to the song again were like, oh no, you know what? It was a risk, but I do understand what they were going through now. Is now a good time to run back to the question that I interrupted myself like 12 fucking times for? Bonus points if you can even remember what it is.
I was about to say, what was that question, John?
Yeah, exactly. I was basically saying, knowing that, this band inspired you live, and I believe that I've read that Amin Ra is also a very big inspiration for y'all live. Kind of, knowing, Adam, that the band got the call for Arctangent, and then you had to tell Benio to go out and buy a bass player from the pawn, or a bass from the pawn shop or something like that. What was originally like your thought? Is okay, like we've got our music, we've got this. How are we gonna approach live, and what can we do versus we want to do, and like all that good stuff. I guess knowing that you were a band that wanted to put the music and the groove and the experience and stuff like that first, how did you approach kind of going to the live stage, playing your first show in front of 3,000 people when you didn't even know that you were going to be playing the show to anybody, let alone that many people?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think there's a certain amount that just came out naturally, right? Where
Sure.
it's almost like unstated assumptions. So yeah, we talked about the fact that we didn't want to use any kind of backing tracks. We didn't want to go down that route. We wanted to make it feel, our music again is, is very intense. It, both it sounds heavy. It's also very spiritually heavy. We
Yeah.
want people to be in that moment, and so again, it was a case of looking at some of the live shows that we're big fans of. Sun was probably one of the biggest influences. I mean,
Sure.
again, that is a band that their music is very aesthetically different, but again, a lot of what they do with a live show is something that we would want to try and evoke in people, the way that it feels. I mean, it couldn't feel more organic, right? A Sun live show, like the way that
Right.
put the music together, and it's yeah, the way that there's a constant feedback between the amps. It's a living, breathing thing, but also it's glued together as a band.
Hmm.
Again, the use of fog, the use of lights to accentuate that. So we're very backlit, because again, it's not about me getting up there and shredding a solo, or like Sam doing a sick lead line or anything. That doesn't feel like it helps convey the meaning behind the message.
Hmm.
Wanted it to be not quite anonymous. Like, we didn't want to be a sleep token clone, or a band that's going out there with sacks on their heads, but we wanted the spotlight to be very much on the music, the moment, the emotions that are being created. I think ultimately, as we've gone on and done 3 shows, 4 shows, I think we're up to
I
five.
think Setlist FM says 4 for the last
Yeah,
time that
yeah.
I checked. So woo,
Yeah.
look at you guys
Okay,
go.
before then. Yeah, I think that's something that's still evolving, clearly. So yeah, it's something that, yeah, we'll continue to kind of revisit and tweak and all those kind of things. But I think that ultimate goal of making it feel organic, making people feel caught up in the moment, is that's still going to be the goal. That's still going to be we're striving
Oh,
toward. We're never striving towards something.
Sure.
ultimately, I think, like, I know you said, Adam, it isn't about us, but I think as we've settled into playing live, we've always had, I think, good chemistry as musicians, the five of us, but as we've settled into it, we've been able to let go a little bit more. We're not
Mm.
so, it's very raw anyway. So we don't need to kind of, you know, open the curtains, let's say. We can just sit in what the record is, in what Dimscua is. And I think that the thing that we do really well right now is be able to be where our feet are. And when we play our live shows, we are in the moment. And I think people feed off that.
Yeah, I love what you said, being where your feet are. And after you played that first show, like how did you all personally like feel? I know, like obviously you can tell expectations, nervousness, everything like that. But like Benio, I guess we'll just start with you. But like, how did you feel coming off that stage after that very first show?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't actually an official member of the band until we stepped off stage there. So for me, uh, the moment that kind of, Adam and I sat down in the car, and Adam goes, "Oh, do you think you'd want to do this with us?" And I was a little bit taken aback, because the live show was so intense. I was on such a come down. So I think I may have experienced it a little bit differently to the others because I was invited as a guest.
Yeah.
and then being invited into the fold, it was incredible. But then I was still trying to process exactly what happened.
Exactly. You like weren't
Yeah,
even in the headspace to even
yeah,
fucking like deal with that at that point.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, sure. Like what? Yeah, that's cool. Adam, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, now, like, yeah, as I kind of alluded to, you know, me, Sam, Lewis, we've been going to Untitled since 2016. This was actually supposed to be, or 2025. It was supposed to be the first year I was missing my wife. She used to have a baby 2 weeks beforehand.
Hmm.
So it's just going to be the first one I missed. And then, yeah, so I think that's slightly changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she very kindly was basically to it. Yeah, want to do it? Which, yeah,
Cheers for her, my friend. That's support
Oh,
right there.
God, man. I mean, we got the call, and I was like, "Oh my God, my dream's coming through." But it's the worst possible time. I can't do this. I'm sorry, boys. And luckily, she was in the kitchen as I was being told, and she was like, "What are you talking about? Go and do it."
Fuck yeah. Big up to Mrs. Campbell-Train, please.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was just on another. I was on another planet. So probably about 2 months afterwards, honestly. Like this was, I mean, yeah, we talked about Caspian. I've seen them play. They've headlined that stage that we played, that exact stage twice. So I've seen, yeah, Amon Ra on that stage. I've seen, you know, Meshuggah at Arctangent. I was there to see Carnival, there to see We Lost the Sea. You know, all of these bands that are so informative to my taste in music. Converge,
Hmm.
I've seen there twice. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
to be part of it was just, yeah. I don't want to say like I didn't really get an imposter syndrome, but I think that was just because I was completely couldn't believe that it was happening.
Yeah.
Like if I'd have realized what was going on, maybe I would have felt like an imposter. But
Yeah, yeah. So I was too ignorant to that to even like be in my own head about it. So
yeah,
that is a good thing about just kind of being thrust into these situations sometimes. You don't even have time to fucking be anxious about it because it's gonna happen regardless of whether you like it or not.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like the slot's there, man. You know, it's someone's got to play it. We go out there and fuck it up, and I've still achieved more than I ever wanted to reasonably achieve. You know what? I
Yeah, dude,
said
that's the
that.
spirit. Fuck yeah.
You know what? I said that to James Scarlett, who's the guy who books all the bands. I ran into him before our set, and I said something to the effect of, "Yeah, it was my dream to like play the shittest slot on the smallest stage, and now you've got us in the middle of the afternoon on the second stage. This is like 2 steps above what I ever dreamed. So even if we go out there and fuck it up, I'm still happy." And he looked at me like, "Shit, did I make a massive mistake here?"
Yeah, it's like things that you definitely shouldn't say out loud, but again, it's not like you guys are gonna know any better because you just fucking like going off whatever is going on in the brain at that point, which
Yeah.
I fucking love.
Oh, it's just we were on
Yeah.
pure adrenaline for 2 months, and yeah, and then probably a couple of months afterwards.
Yeah, and then we played Damnation, and I think that it was the same feeling, but we were more settled.
Mm.
Hmm.
So we were able to, like I said, we were able to properly be in the moment there and take in exactly what I think we're all very slowly realizing that Dimscua is becoming, as opposed to
Yeah.
something has been thrust upon us and we're just going to take some opportunity. Now we're
Sure.
all having to go, right, guys, how is this actually fitting into our 30 plus year old lives?
Yeah, and as I kind of like alluded to before, having written the previous album in a condensed period of time over a long period of time, right?
Mm.
Um, how like how are you guys approaching writing music now? In in the sense knowing that like oh, there you know there are eyes, or I don't want to say there are expectations now or whatever, but obviously, that you have people that really respond to the music. You know that there are, possibly opportunities that are going to be around, and like, this band has the opportunity to grow into things that even just like 2 years ago you didn't even think was like anywhere possible for any of you guys. So like, how are you using Benio, kind of what you mentioned is the 30 years chemistry and history and all that other stuff, to, write in, I guess, a less condensed period now, or figure out all that stuff? Is it harder? Is it the same thing that you guys have been doing? I'm curious as far as like, now that this is kind of crystallized, where your thoughts go. And Adam, I guess we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting because knowing that I was having a baby 2 weeks before Arctangent, I was like, well, I'm not gonna have time to write. I just started cranking out ideas before we'd even played our first show.
Mm.
And then there have been so many moments. I think Benio mentioned about Damnation, right? Like there have been so many moments that we've hit along the way where it's like, oh, I never thought that would happen. This is a real band. Like we did Arctangent and I genuinely thought it was a flash in the pan. Like
Sure.
we did really, really well on merch sales, which was amazing because it enabled us to then reinvest back in the band and do other things. But I was sitting there thinking, oh well, we'll never do those merch sales again because it was the first show and there was all this hype because of the podcast and whatever else.
Yeah, now everybody who wants a Dimscua t-shirt has
Now
a Dimscua
everyone's got one,
t-shirt.
right?
What are we gonna do? Sell them another one? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went to Damnation and we did the same thing again. And like again, to Benio's point, like I think we played the same way, but we were able to enjoy it more. We were able to be where our feet were more, and then again going on, we released we released the record as of the date where we're recording this, it's still on pre-order. Pre-order went up. We got to work with a label that we're big fans of. So actually, the label that we put out Dust and Disquiet in Europe. Actually, we've known some of those people who are involved with it for years, but they would never have put out any of my previous bands. I can tell you that. I can tell you that for sure, right? But they saw the success at Arctangent and they loved the music and they trusted us to put together a vinyl release, and the sales for that were absolutely phenomenal. And there was another point where it's like, okay, this is a real band. Like, we need to take this more seriously.
Yeah.
So I think as we've hit some of those milestones, it's maybe, I'm speaking for myself anyway, it's maybe changed the way that I kind of view putting together a second record. It's, when I was 2 weeks before having a baby, it was like, right, well, let's just crank out any old shit. And people will probably like it. We just need to get something out there. And then I think as we've gone along, the more we've realized that actually people really do connect with this. And this is not just a flash in the pan hype moment. There is something here that, we need to deliver on to a certain extent. I think I think the changes that we're taking it seriously and that we're really prioritizing it. And it's not just a fact of, okay, well, we've got to get X, Y, Z out by whatever date. So we'll just work on whatever. And then what we have by then, we'll just ship it out. We're really taking it seriously to put together something I think that we can be proud of as a body of work, as an album.
Yeah. Does that put any more pressure on you, knowing that, because last time, like you said, you're just getting together, have a couple beers, put some stuff together, and work on some things outside of life. Does that put any more like artistic or creative pressure on you, or you just kind of just going with what you're trying to do?
I think we're figuring out how we work now. I think is a fair thing. So on the previous record, because there was no pressure, it was maybe easier to just let someone have something or just be like, hey, okay, we'll do it, whatever, right? Like, I think the difference in the dynamic now is that everyone really cares.
Yeah.
And at the moment we're negotiating, what does that mean and how does that impact the writing process?
Cool. Yeah.
I think that's Yeah, Benio's laughing, but yeah,
There's gonna be more
definitely the-
swashbuckling and sword fights on this record. It
Yeah.
seems like.
Yeah. I mean, it's what's
I'm
your
just thinking about our last kind of writing session, and kind of Adam, I think, was like, he was looking at me where I had a kind of a not convinced face on, and and he's going, oh yeah, so what do you think of that? And I'm like, I think we're fitting a square peg into a round hole, and I think it's the challenging each other on like what can actually be the best output at this time.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
But the good thing, like you were saying, is you have a long history of working with each other on that too. So it's more, the challenge of figuring out how does it work with this specific project as opposed to just like, I guess, how do we do it in general? Because, you guys have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, yeah, I mean, the difference is no one gave a fuck until about 6 months ago.
Yeah, but at the same time, also, as kind of mentioned, you guys just did what you wanted to do, and that led to, music that people have really connected with, and it's just kind of, easier said than done, but just do that again. Yeah, just do that again is what you should do. No, but I mean, like, I think writing the stuff that ultimately that you really love and that inspires you and that you want to get out there, I think is just the formula for I'm using air quotes right here for lack of a better term, because obviously, as you mentioned, Adam, there is something there. People do respond to it, and obviously there are many bands that have just kind of grown organically for people finding at the right time. But I was trying to think back on like how the fuck I came across you guys. I don't remember if someone from UK sent it in the album in the Discord server that I'm in. I don't remember if I found something on either Metal Archives or like a calendar or something like that. I want to say, I think I heard one of your songs first, was like, wow, that's really good. I'll check out this. I think it was labeled as like even an EP or something. I don't even think it was labeled correctly as an album. And I listened to it, was like, holy fuck, that's one of the best like self-released under the radar things that I've heard. And I talked to a couple friends about it who went and saw you guys at Arctangent, Damnation, all that stuff. And then I got the emails saying that the record was going to be pressed into a physical vinyl. And that's when I was like, yep, these boys are going somewhere. Like, people are actually starting to fucking pay attention and shit like that, which is why, I reached out to get you guys on here. And I'm glad that you guys could share your time with me and come on and chat, because I think that the record is really good. And I think it's really cool to see just like a gaggle of blokes make music and then get it out there because people really fucking dig it. Because at the end of the day, that's like the dream, right? That's what everybody tries to do when they get into a band. And as you both have been saying, if even if you write one more record, decide, you know what, we did it, that's it, we can't do anything else. Like dreams have been made. I just think that is really, really fucking cool.
Yeah, to put out one record and have it be received the way that Dusty has been received is something that I never thought I would have the opportunity to do. And it is it's not very metal, right? But it's a very Cinderella story of like do something, hammer away at something for years, do something, people respond to it. It totally changing the life. And that is exactly what's happened. I think now it's about taking that seriously, taking it seriously, and making the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of also just feeling maybe a little bit more responsible now, because people have had this deep emotional connection with Dusteater, that it's not necessarily a pressure to deliver, but it's just a responsibility to be able to continuously write music that does connect with people so deeply.
I know, I could see exactly what you mean with that, as far as like, I know that there are albums that some artists have put out that have like, this has resonated with me so deeply, and this is such a personal thing, that then they'll put out and people will be like, You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know. Obviously, I've never put out an album or done that or anything like that. So I could certainly see the ethos of we still want people to connect with this music no matter how it comes out. Especially because, as you mentioned how intensely heavy both music and the subject matter is, and how people can put their own personal experiences in that, and connect to this music in a way that the five of you probably never thought that anybody outside your living room ever would. And yeah, I mean, fucking, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that you guys don't have your work cut out for you or anything like that, but I think that y'all are more up to the task, and I'm just excited to see what else comes out of there, and see where you guys go from here, and in another 2, 3, 5 years down the line, see how things are going for Dimscua and you guys, and where everything goes from that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Very
thank
welcome.
you so much, John.
Yeah, no problem. So look at that. The album has finished. Dust and Disquiet has faded out and then faded back in again, and then let you kind of go for a little bit. This is one of those tracks that I feel like, it's what, 11 and a half minutes long. And I
Yeah.
think that you do need that time to just sit and stare at the ceiling with your headphones on for a little while. Sometimes I do that at the end of records. You need that time to decompress. This one kind of works that in at the end for you to kind of let you, as you mentioned several times, Ben, you breathe a little bit and kind of just take in everything that you have digested over the last hour or so, and just kind of like, there you go. Now you have to live in the pool of your emotions.
I love that.
Any last words on Caspian's Dust and Disquiet? Adam, we can start with you.
No, I think yeah, I mean, if yeah, I wait. You're asking great questions, and we ended up chatting through two of my favorite songs.
Oh, it happens all the time, dude. I always tell people that they can tell me to shut the fuck up, and sometimes I try, always. But then what inevitably happens is we get into the like halfway through, and then the conversation rolls, and it's like, fuck,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this one. Like, I didn't even mention Atenum Veil, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's just that 2 minute guitar recording that
Yeah.
literally just sounds like they stuck a microphone in a practice space while one of the guys was just pouring his heart out into some like improvised melody that was just so laid bare onto the fretboard. So yeah, we can talk about so much of this stuff for forever, and I would love to.
Yeah, I can hear my little girl crying downstairs. So unfortunately, I probably can't say it for another 2 hours. Yeah, no, I think this album is an absolute, yeah, just masterpiece. I think it has the title track in particular, I think is an amazing closer, but it's just an amazing piece of music to express that gamut of emotions. I think if you try and express the emotions that you are feeling through it, it sounds basic. Like if I say it makes me sad, it makes me mournfully hopeful, that sounds it doesn't do it justice.
Right.
The only thing that can do it justice is sitting, listening, having your headphones on, having good speakers on, and being absorbed in it. And maybe this was a terrible record to pick for this format of interview because
No, not at all.
we've just prattled on over the top of it. But yeah, for me, that's the kind of parting thought is, yeah, when we're thinking about how we go into writing, there's so many things that inspire me about this record. The way that it's put together and feels complete as an album, the way that they use the music to evoke emotions and stir something within you is brilliant. And the way that they tie the things together with a theme, and you can combine heavy, you can combine happy, you can combine mournful and lonely on the song Run Dry, and make a coherent project because you have something that ties it all together is an endless well of inspiration for me. So yeah, if you've not heard it, listen to it, and if you have heard it, listen to it again,
Let's
and
do it again.
listen to it again and again and again and again.
Oh, Benio, final words on this album. Final thoughts.
Oh, it's just one of the best records ever written, and Waking Season. But
Go listen to Waking Season as well. Go
go
listen to all
listen to
the other
Waking
Caspian
Season as well.
albums as well.
But yeah, largely echoing again what Adam said. If something pulls you in and makes you feel it, then it's pretty special.
This is true, which is why I will also say everyone go listen to Dusteater by Dimscua because it evokes that same sort of, well, same but different sort of emotion. It will make you think, it will make you feel, it will make you do all of those other things. Yeah, it will be a record that you will think about for a while. And I can't wait to see you guys live. I'm hoping to be at Arctangent this year. I'm doing everything in my power to make it happen. I have friends go every year. It would be a great way to see them, and also the fucking lineup this year. Not that Arctangent usually ever has a bad lineup, because their lineups every year are fucking incredible. But yeah, I was looking at the bill, and just like, yeah, I got to do it. I got to do it because I've put it off for too many years now. So if I see you, maybe you'll see me jumping up and down in the back or something like that. But guys, I'll cut this short, Adam, so that you can go tend to your child. But thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Congrats on the record that came out last June and is coming out in vinyl in February. And I will have the links for everything for the pre-orders for the record for people to go get that and listen to it. So good luck writing the next record, and I hope to see you guys on stage sometime in the future, or just anywhere that we can, so that we can give a high five, have a beer, and all that good stuff.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely, guys.
See you, Arctangent.
We'll be there.